just joining, welcome. I do a lot of special education videos. Let me adjust my cam here. There we go. I do special education videos and all that for students, and I gotta get caught up on work. So a read aloud I've got to do. That's what the little chick is in the back. Just prop my students are interested in. I got a couple puppets and things like that. So if you're joining, one thing I don't do is I don't usually engage with chat when I'm actually in a recording. So like right now I'm not recording, so I'm just kind of chatting with everybody. So don't hesitate if you've got a message or something you want to say to me, go ahead and throw it in chat. It doesn't matter where you're watching from, I will be able to see it. I currently stream to Mixer, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I also do, DLive and Periscope are the other ones that I do as well. So if you have any messages and you want to throw them in whatever it is platform you're watching from, I will be able to see it. I use Restream to be able to see chat. But I do not engage with my chat when I actually hit the record button. So don't assume I'm ignoring you when I have the recording actually going. So if I'm doing a video, that's most likely why I'm not responding to you. So, but that being said, I need to go ahead and get going on some work here. I'll keep saying this as people come in, just so you're all aware what's going on here. But I'm going to go ahead and start my video. I'm going to do a read aloud. So here we go. Hi everyone, it's Mr. Sam, and today I have another book for us with permission of Scholastic. It's called The Brave Little Bird, and behind me here I've got a little friend that I'm going to be reading to. Okay, he's a little chick back here. So we'll go ahead and see if he likes this book, because we're going to be reading about another little bird just like him. Okay, well, without further ado, permission of Scholastic, this is The Brave Little Bird. Pepito was afraid of heights, so when it was time to leave the nest, he decided he would go his own way. But how? "You should run like me," said the fox. So Pepito ran, until he came to a fence. "When I come to a fence, I hop," said the frog. So Pepito hopped. It looked like smooth sailing, until he came to a river. "Can you swim?" asked the fish. "I can try." So Pepito swam. He was making real progress. But then he came to a busy road. "Why don't you fly over?" asked the gopher. "I'm afraid of heights," said Pepito. "Then why not go under?" So Pepito burrowed under. Finally, he saw his brothers and sisters' new tree. He was so happy that he climbed right up. "Pepito!" they cheered. "How did you get here?" "I ran, I hopped, I swam, I burrowed, and I climbed." His brothers and sisters were very impressed. "But Pepito," they said, "if you are brave enough to do all those things, then you must be brave enough to fly." and they all flew off. And Pepito led the way. So that was The Brave Little Bird, being read to you with permission of Scholastic. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm pretty sure my little chick friend back here did too. So don't hesitate to follow me. I'm on YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, and Facebook. A lot of different places I'm streaming from. All of my videos are on YouTube. I do have a playlist there. So don't hesitate to swing on over there and give that a like. And hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will be bringing more videos as I've got time to do them, okay? Again, I'm Mr. Sam, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you're just following me, just arriving on the channel, I'm a special education teacher, and I've got some work that I'm actually doing right now. So, notice there was a couple people in stream, so I figured I'd just throw that out there. Yeah, I do a couple different variety streams, but I still got to actually do my teaching job as regular. So I actually just hit the record button while I'm live streaming so that I can take my recording and just drop it online into my folders online for my students and all of that. But yeah, I'm usually live doing all of this, so if I'm not engaging with chat, it might be because I've already hit the record button and I'm actually doing a full-fledged recording, but I still live stream everything I'm doing. So, okay. I actually got to do something that's actually in line with my actual SpEd students. So one thing that actually I do on the regular as a teacher is I work with some nonverbal students, so students that are either not able to actually speak or they're having struggles being able to communicate. So I do some stuff that's similar to this here. This is called Edmark. It's basically a pretty straightforward task. I say a word, the student points to the word on screen, and I just go down the page until I get to like the word, and then I have them say it to their parents. That way we can make sure that they're still able to get their education and everything while we're in this pandemic. So it's actually fun for me because I'm now getting to use my technology geek stuff. But yeah, it's actually kind of fun because I'm showing all my other staff how to do this, and they're actually liking it a lot. Because the biggest thing for most people is getting over being the camera shy. For myself, I'm like looking at myself, talking to myself, so it's kind of weird in a way, but I've been streaming for a while, so for me this is pretty normal. It's getting all my other coworkers to get used to it. So it's the new norm right now, so unfortunately I do miss my students, but this is how I'm able to keep in touch with them right now. So a subplot, I like that title. Welcome to the stream. So but yeah, I'm about to be hitting the record button, so I don't actually engage with my stream like I was saying when I hit the record button. Don't actually engage with you guys when I'm actually recording, because when I'm recording, I have to have it basically real clean so I can just submit it online so my students can see it. I do end up just live streaming the whole entire time, so you get to see me mess up. There's been times that I've messed up, I've stopped the recording, started all over. It is what it is. So Gina Corella, I think is how that you say that. Thanks for joining as well. I am a SpEd teacher. You were asking what kind of teacher I am. I'm actually a special education teacher at the elementary school level. So a lot of the stuff you'll see here in just a minute, because I'm about to record a piece that I need to do for tonight, because my student's supposed to be able to work on it tomorrow. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and record. I'll chat with you guys here when I'm done with my recording, okay? So I'm going to go over to my recording here. Hey, it's Mr. Sam. How you doing? All right, so this is going to be lesson 3 from Edmark. So as you remember, I'm going to say the word, and I want you to point to it on screen. And then when it's just the word, I want you to say it, okay? So here we go. This one's going to be a little bit longer today, parents. This is going to be 2 pages. As we go along, it gets longer and longer. So let's work through this, okay? All right, here we go. So go ahead and find the word horse for me. We're going to go to our next one. Point to the word A. Okay, we're going to go to the next one here. Say the word. Say the word. Okay, so this is our new word. It's car. Okay, go ahead and try and say that with your parents. Car. Go ahead and point to the word car. Go ahead and point to the word car. Point to the word car. Go ahead and say the word. Go ahead and say the word. Go ahead and point to the word A. Point to the word car. Point to the word car. Say the word. Okay, I've got one more page for us to do here. Point to the word car. Point to the word car. Go ahead and say the words. And say the word. And that was all of them. All right, good job. So that was lesson 3. Okay, so I'm going to be working on getting the video for lesson 4 here soon. You guys are doing great. Don't hesitate if you've got any questions about this. Don't hesitate to send us a message and we'll follow up with you, okay? You guys are doing great. Lesson 4 will be coming out real soon, all right? All right, bye. Thanks for bearing with me on that. I noticed that some people are like, ah, that's really easy to do. Well, as a reminder, this is special education for elementary school kids. So one of the students that I'm actually working with is in special education, and is a nonverbal student, so is not actually able to talk. So some things that we would think is very simple, as even saying a car, things like that, that is very difficult for some of these students. They actually have like talker systems and things like that. So we're actually trying to get them to be able to verbalize these words. It's also good for those who actually can speak but aren't able to recognize. So like back behind me, that word adult. I have students that want to be able to recognize what that word is, but they know what adult means. So that's part of what this is being able for them to actually pattern match the words and all of that too. So that's kind of some of the stuff I have to do on a regular basis. This is how I'm able to keep my students engaged and keep going, because normally we would be in person doing this, and for some I'd be walking the halls with the book open doing the exact same thing, saying, okay, say the word, and we're just walking down the hall because that's the only way to keep them engaged with it. So now we're in this new environment of trying to actually keep them engaged at home too as well, where parents aren't used to these systems necessarily. So most of these videos are actually being made for the parent to be able to have the guide for it, while they're able to do it whenever they're able to do it at. I've actually got one parent that's messaged me saying, I was able to do it during dinner, in between each bite he was able to say a word. So it's great to be hearing that they're able to still move forward. But yep, that's what I've been doing, trying to keep busy while also streaming too. So that's it for right now. I mean, I've only been up for about 20 minutes streaming. But yeah, this has been my kind of my daily cycle, trying to do some creative live streams. Try and do all the schoolwork too at the same time of being live, just so that people kind of see what that actually looks like. I think that's kind of part of it being a teacher, is being able to interact with people so they can see what actually is happening behind the scenes for us as teachers. Because I know at home, for some, it's a real struggle, not knowing what the teacher actually has been doing in the classroom with them. So that way you can kind of see what it's like on the background too. I've got a couple of videos that I had to record them like 3 or 4 times because I kept laughing. My best one was the Ants Go Marching, my read aloud on that. I kept trying to sing the song with it, and the song does not go with the actual book version. So it was kind of hilarious to watch that. But those are on my YouTube channel. You guys want, you can follow me on YouTube as well. I don't have my links up on this because I'm recording this screen, but I can throw those up on my live here just for a moment. Just realized that my microphone was not on that whole entire time. I will be right back. I'm going to go grab a drink. I'm going to throw that be right back on, though, so that you guys got the links for my other channels. But I will be right back. I realized my microphone doesn't work when I'm on that screen. So, be back. So, so how's everybody doing tonight? There's a couple people in chat. How's everybody doing? Let's see. A subplot. I was chatting with you a little bit earlier. Gina Carrillo. Thanks for chiming in there. Yeah, definitely fun to try and do these Edmark things along with the students. You kind of see what they end up doing. Who else we got? Looks like we've got somebody lurking out on Facebook. So I am able to actually engage with all of you wherever it is you're at. I have multiple platforms I'm streaming from. My main one is on Mixer.com, Mr_Rotor. That is the main one I go to, but I am able to chat with everybody. So don't hesitate if you want to type a message in. I'm able to engage with you still. So with that being said, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna go try and read another book here and record it. I need to do some edits on my other ones though, real quick. That is the book. Hi, Madison. How are you? Long time no see there. That book. Brave Little Bird. Yeah, if you're just joining me, I said there's a couple more people that just jumped in. I did just finish doing a read aloud, and I also finished doing a third lesson of Edmark. If you've never heard of Edmark, it's specifically for special education students to help advance their vocabulary, to be able to get them talking. Biggest thing for students to be able to get them to talk, you can actually be able to help them learn and process things better. Part of that is like word recognition, so the word adult right there. I do have students that they know what that word is, they can define it, but when they actually see the word, they can't say it because they're not actually able to cognitively recognize what that word is. So that's what Edmark actually helps with, is just a word processing for them to be able to remember what it is. So It's good to hear, Maddie. I'm glad you're doing okay. I know it's been a while since we've chatted or anything really. So, welcome to the stream. Yeah, anytime. No, I try and do this on the regular. I've been trying to get at least one book a day. I have on my stream that I've got others that I'm trying to do more than that. But I've got trying to do at least one book read aloud a day, one Edmark lesson a day, and then just my random streams thereafter. That way I'm keeping busy with things. So I see on Periscope it's Sunflower and a Butterfly. I'm not sure what your name actually is, but welcome. So. Yeah, hi Evelyn Wood. So I'm actually, it looks like it says ELD. Um, so I'm actually doing special education Edmark right now is what I've been working on. I also do read alouds. So I'm a special education teacher at Middleton Elementary School in Sherwood, Oregon. Um, with this whole pandemic thing, it's got us teachers all flipped upside down doing stuff. So I stream regularly, so for me this is pretty normal. What I actually end up doing is I just go live and I create my content. I just click my record button though while I'm still live streaming. That way other people can actually see what it looks like. Because it's perfectly fine to be messing up while you're doing this. You hit the record button, you mess up. If you feel it's really bad mess up, you can always just delete it before sending it out to your students. That's pretty much what I usually am doing here. I've had several of them where I've had a couple cuss words slip out, and I'm like, yeah, definitely deleting that one. So, but yeah, otherwise I'm usually doing some read alouds or just regular stream playing video games, things like that. So. Yeah, my SpEd aspects, I'm a elementary school SpEd, but I'm pretty much going to be relocated anywhere in the district, so I'm actually elementary, middle school, and high school trained, so I have to be able to work with all of them. Uh, I do have some books that I'm doing chapters occasionally by. I have two older nieces that are in middle school, so I've kind of been doing some read alouds for them as well, just to keep them busy and entertained. But yeah, I even broke down and spent some of my own money to buy some little marionettes and things like that, some puppets. Because I mean, you want to be able to interact with the stream as much as possible, so definitely. At the moment, I'm not really doing anything. I'm uploading a video, so sorry, this is like the dead boring time of my stream. So making sure that it uploads properly and everything. So. Yeah, if you're just joining, welcome, welcome. Just trying to keep busy right now. Waiting on this last video to upload, and I'll probably end up doing another read aloud. Probably end up finding something a little bit different instead of the kids' books. I might pull out a chapter book or something. So. And if you hear crying in the background, that's my cat who's outside the door. He doesn't really want in the room. He's just crying because I'm not outside the room with him. So He's been doing that to me lately, and I've had to do that in a couple of my videos. Like, yes, there's a cat. He says hi. All right. Well, if you're in chat and you've got a book that is potentially published by Scholastic, let me know that you're interested in me possibly reading. I might have it, I might not. I am trying to collect books that people actually do have an interest in hearing. That way I can put them up on stream because I know if I've got one person interested in it, I'm sure there's other people interested in it. Some of them I'm trying to stay away from is like the Harry Potter books. I am trying to stay away from those because um, you pretty much can get those on YouTube for free or other locations as a read aloud, and that's the author actually doing it. So, I mean, that's pretty much the best person you're gonna get to be able to do it. So, trying to compare my voice compared to hers is probably not as good, but there are other books that I'm out there doing. So, which kitty? So it's actually Picard that's outside making all of the noise right now. Um, I don't know if you met Picard actually, Madison. I think that was during my master's program. Is when I got him. It was towards the end of my master's program. So I don't know if you. I don't remember if you actually got to meet him or not. Um, but yeah, it's Picard. Luke's still out there. He's actually in the cage right now. He's been having some medical issues. He's actually a diapered cat now. He's been spraying and spotting all over the place. So I've taken him into the vet, and the biggest thing that they've said is, well, if we can get him into a diaper to stop him doing that, which he has stopped since I put him in a diaper, cat diaper. So it's really comical to watch, but yeah, Luke is now officially in a cat diaper. So, which I think you've probably seen a couple of the photos, some of my more recent photos on Facebook actually have him in there with his diaper on. Um, Also, if you go onto my page, I have Luke and Picard. They both have their own Facebook page, so that way you can see what Picard actually looks like. Um, for those that don't know me personally, I do have a private Facebook page. I do advertise to it, um, but most of the stuff on Facebook is my direct friends and family. So um, there's that. So. Alright, that has finished. Alright, I think I'm going to try and find another book, so I'm going to go put this on the Be Right Back. If you do have something you want me to read, don't hesitate to type it in the chat window. Like I said, I have access to pretty much all of the platforms I'm streaming on. I use Restream Chat, so I can actually see all of the different places that I'm streaming to. So don't hesitate. If you're on a platform that has the ability to type, just type a message in. I will shout you out on stream. So I'm going to switch it over to the Be Right Back. I don't have my microphone active on that one. That way it allows me to get around and do some stuff without everybody hearing what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put it on Be Right Back, and I'll be back with another book unless somebody's got something in chat, and I'll see if I have it or not. Biggest ones is Scholastic. If you've got a Scholastic book that you're wanting me to read, I can most likely do that if I have it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on Be Right Back. Alright, so I'm back. Um, doesn't look like anybody had a preference in there, so I've been actually asked by a couple people to take a pick from one of these two books. And I'm not really wanting to read these, but to entertain people, I'm willing to read one. Yeah, I've never really wanted to read either one of these books on stream. I actually own both of them because it just so happens I own both of them, but I've never really wanted to read these on stream, but people have been asking. I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the Hunger Games because I think Twilight is a little bit more graphic and adult oriented. At least with the Hunger Games, I'll be able to have middle schoolers and high schools be able to read that without too much issue. While Twilight is in libraries, I think it's at our schools districts. I think it's only in our high school. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick with Hunger Games because I know that one is actually in the middle school range. So I am going to be hitting the record button. I'm going to probably just do a couple chapters. I want to try and only keep it to about a 30-minute read. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that aspect time-wise. Again, it's not a picture book, so I'm going to have to state that. I have an introduction I need to be giving on all of these. Just so I don't invade copyright infringement, because we are allowed as teachers to be able to read these, because some of the publishing agencies have lifted copyright. So I will type a message in here. Hopefully it'll go out to everybody. But I will not be actually engaging with chat, so if you're coming in, hopefully it makes sense what I'm doing. I can't engage with chat at the moment, so. Alright. And that looks like it went out to everything. Alright. So, part of this is, like I said, I have to do an introduction to this. I'm going to take this cover off the book, though. That sleeve always gets in the way because this is a hardback book. So, yep. So I have to do a little bit of an introduction with the book, and then I'm going to get started. So, here we go with recording. Hi everyone, it's Mr. Roeder, or as my students like to call me, Mr. Sam. I'm a special education teacher at Sherwood, Oregon, at Middleton Elementary School. And with permission of Scholastic, I'm actually going to be reading a series of books. It will be just a couple chapters at a time on this one. Last one I did was Super Fudge, and I know some people really loved that. This one I'm going to try and do the same thing for, but it will be the Hunger Game series. So, with permission of Scholastic, this is the Hunger Games. With this, there is no pictures. This is just going to be me reading the book as we go along. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have the book, go ahead and grab it and follow along. If not, that is perfectly fine. Just go ahead and enjoy the read. So here we go. Chapter 1, Part 1. When I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out, seeking Prim's warmth, but finding only the rough canvas cover of the mattress. She must have had bad dreams and climbed in with our mother. Of course she did. This is the day of the reaping. I prop myself up on one elbow. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. My little sister Prim curled up on her side, cocooned in my mother's body, their cheeks pressed together. In sleep, my mother looks young, still worn but not so beaten down. Prim's face is as fresh as a raindrop, as lovely as the primrose for which she was named. My mother was very beautiful once, too. Or so they tell me. Sitting at Prim's knees, guarding her, is the world's ugliest cat. Mashed in, nosed, half of one ear missing, eyes the color of rotten squash. Prim named him Buttercup, insisting that his muddy yellow coat matched the bright flowers. He hates me, or at least distrusts me. Even though it was years ago, I think he still remembers how I tried to drown him in a bucket when Prim brought him home. Scrawny kitten, belly swollen with worms, crawling with fleas. The last thing I needed was another mouth to feed, but Prim begged so hard, cried even, I had to let him stay. It turned out okay. My mother got rid of the vermin, and he's a born mouser. Even catches the occasional rat. Sometimes when I clean a kill, I feed Buttercup the entrails. He has stopped hissing at me. Entrails, no hissing. This is the closest we will ever come to love. I swing my legs off the bed and slide into my hunting boots. Supple leather that has molded to my feet. I pull on trousers, a shirt, tuck my long dark braid up into a cap, and grab my forage bag. On the table, under a wooden bowl, to protect it from hungry rats and cats alike, sits a perfect little goat cheese wrapped in basil leaves. Prim's gift to me on reaping day. I put the cheese carefully in my pocket as I slip outside. Our part of District 12, nicknamed the Seam, is usually crawling with coal miners heading out to the morning shift at this time. Men and women with hunched shoulders, swollen knuckles, many of whom have long since stopped trying to scrub the coal dust out of their broken nails, the lines of their sunken skulls. But today, the black cinder streets are empty. Shutters on the squat gray houses are closed. The reaping isn't until tomorrow. May as well sleep in, if you can. Our house is almost at the edge of the seam. I only have to pass a few gates to reach the scruffy field called the meadow. Separating the meadow from the woods, in fact encloses all District 12, is a high chain link fence topped with barbed wire loops. In theory, it's supposed to be electrified 24 hours a day as a deterrent to the predators that live in the woods. Packs of wild dogs, lone cougars, bears, that used to threaten our streets. But since we're lucky to get 2 or 3 hours of electricity in the evenings, it's usually safe to touch. Even so, I always take a moment to listen carefully for the hum that means the fence is live. Right now, it's silent as a stone. Concealed by a clump of bushes, I flatten out my belly and slide under a 2-foot section that's been loose for years. There are several other weak spots in the fence, but this one is so close to home, I almost always enter the woods here. As soon as I'm in the trees, I retrieve a bow and sheath of arrows from a hollow log. Electrified or not, the fence has been successful at keeping the flesh eaters out of District 12. Inside the woods, they roam freely, and there are added concerns like venomous snakes, rabid animals, and no real paths to follow. But there's also food if you know how to find it. My father knew, and he taught me some before he was blown to bits in a mine explosion. There was nothing even to bury. I was 11 then. 5 years later, I still wake up screaming for him to run. Even though trespassing in the woods is illegal and poaching carries the severest of penalties, more people would risk it if they had weapons. But most are not bold enough to venture out with just a knife. My bow is a rarity, crafted by my father along with a few others that I kept well hidden in the woods, carefully wrapped in a waterproof cover. My father could have made good money selling them, but if the officials found out, he would have been publicly executed for inciting a rebellion. Most of the peacekeepers turn a blind eye to the few of us who hunt because they are as hungry for fresh meat as anybody else. In fact, they're among our best customers. But the idea that someone might be arming the seam would never have been allowed. In the fall, a few brave souls sneak into the woods to harvest apples, but always in sight of the meadow, always close enough to run back to the safety of District 12 if trouble arises. District 12, where you can starve to death in safety, I muttered. Then I glance quickly over my shoulder. Even here, even in the middle of nowhere, you worry someone might overhear you. When I was young, I scared my mother to death. The things I would blurt out about District 12, about the people who rule our country, Panem, from the far off city called the capital. Eventually, I understood this would only lead us to more trouble. So I learned to hold my tongue and to turn my features into an indifferent mask so that no one could ever read my thoughts. Do my work quietly in school, make only polite small talk in the public market, discuss little more than trade in the hob, which is the black market where I make most of my money. Even at home, where I am less pleasant, I avoid discussing tricky topics like the reaping, food shortages, or the Hunger Games. Prim might begin to repeat my words, and there where we would be. In the woods, I wait for the only person with whom I can be myself, Gail. I can feel the muscles of my face relaxing. My pace quickens as I climb the hills to our place, a rock ledge overlooking a valley. A thicket of berry bushes protects it from unwanted eyes. The sight of him waiting there brings on a smile. Gail says I never smile except in the woods. Hey, Catnip, says Gail. My real name is Katniss, but when I first told him, I had barely whispered it, so he thought I had said catnip. Then, when this crazy lynx started following me around the woods looking for handouts, it became his official nickname for me. I finally had to kill the lynx because he's scared off game. I almost regretted it because he wasn't bad company, but I got a decent price for his pelt. Look what I shot. Gail held up a loaf of bread with an arrow stuck in it, and I laughed. It's real bakery bread, not the flat, dense loaves we make from our grain rations. I take it in my hands, pull out the arrow, and hold the puncture in the crest to my nose, inhaling the fragrance that makes my mouth flood with saliva. Fine bread like this is for special occasions. Still warm, I say. He must have been at the bakery at the crack of dawn to trade for it. What did it cost you? Just a squirrel. I think the old man was feeling sentimental this morning, even wished me luck. Well, we all feel a little closer today, don't we? I said, not even bothering to roll my eyes. Prim left us a cheese. I pulled it out. His expression brightened as the treat. Thank you, Prim. We'll have a real feast. Suddenly, he falls into a capital accent as he mimics Effie Trinick, the manically upbeat woman who arrives once a year to read out the names at the reaping. I almost forgot. Happy Hunger Games, he plucks. As he plucks a few blackberries from the bushes around us. And may the odds, he tosses a berry in a high arc between us. I catch it in my mouth and break the delicious skin with my teeth. The sweet tartness explodes across my tongue. Be ever in your favor, I finish with equal verse. We have to joke about it because the alternative is to be scared out of your wits. Besides, the capital accent is so affected, I almost everything sounds funny in it. I watch as Gale pulls out his knife and slices the bread. He could be my brother. Straight black hair, olive skin, we even have the same gray eyes. But we're not related, at least not closely. Most of the families who work the mines resemble one another this way. That's why my mother and Prim, with their light hair and blue eyes, always look out of place. They are. My mother's parents were part of the small merchant class that caters to officials, peacekeepers, and the officials seem customer. They ran an apothecary shop in the nicer part of District 12. Since almost no one can afford doctors, apothecaries are healers. My father got to know my mother because on his hunts he would sometimes collect medicinal herbs and sell them to her shop to be brewed into remedies. She must have really loved him to leave her home for the scene. I try to remember that when all I can see is the woman who sat by, blank, unreachable, while her children turned to skin and bones. I tried to forgive her for my father's sake, but to be honest, I'm not the forgiving type. Gail spreads the bread slices with the soft goat cheese, carefully placing a basil leaf on each one while I strip the bushes of the berries. We settle back in a nook in the rocks. From this place we are invisible but have a clear view of the valley, which is teeming with summer life, greens to gather, roots to dig, fish iridescence in the sunlight. The day is glorious, with a blue sky and soft breeze. The food's wonderful, with the cheese seeping into the warm bread and the berries bursting in our mouths. Everything would be perfect if there really was a holiday. If all the day off meant was roaming the mountains with Gail, hunting for tonight's supper. But instead, we have to be standing in the square at 2 o'clock waiting for the name to be called. We could do it, you know, Gail says quietly. What? I ask. Leave the district. Run off. Live in the woods. You and I, we could make it, says Gail. I don't know how to respond. The idea is so preposterous to me. If we didn't have so many kids, he added quickly. They're not our kids, of course, but they might as well be. Gail's 2 little brothers and a sister, Prim, and you may as well throw in our mothers too, because how would they live without us? Who would fill those mouths that are always asking for more? With both of us hunting daily, there are still nights when game has to be swapped for lard or shoelaces or wool. Still nights when we go to bed with our stomachs growling. I never want to have kids, I say. I might, if I didn't live here, says Gail. But you do, I say, irritated. Forget it, he snaps back. The conversation feels all wrong. Leave? How could I leave Prim? Who is the only person in the world I'm certain I love? And Gail is devoted to his family. He can't leave, so why bother talking about it? And even if we did, where did this stuff about having kids come from? There's never been anything romantic between Gail and me. When we met, I was a skinny 12-year-old, and although he was only 2 years older, he already looked like a man. It took a long time for us to even become friends, to stop haggling over every trade and begin helping each other. Besides, if he wants kids, Gail won't have any trouble finding a wife. He's good-looking, he's strong enough to handle the work in the mines, and he can hunt. You can tell by the way the girls whisper about him when he walks by in school that they want to be with him. It makes me jealous, but not for the reason people would think. Good hunting partners are hard to find. What do you want to do? I ask. We can hunt, fish, or gather. Let's fish at the lake. We can leave our poles and gather in the woods. Get something nice for tonight, he says. Tonight, after the reaping, everyone is supposed to be celebrating. And a lot of people do, out of relief that their children have been spared for another year. But at least 2 families will pull their shutters, lock their doors, and try to figure out how they will survive the painful week to come. We make out well. The predators ignore us on a day when easier, tastier prey abound. By late morning, we have a dozen fish, a bag of greens, and best of all, a gallon of strawberries. I found the patch a few years ago, but Gail had the idea to string mesh nets around it to keep out the animals. On the way home, we swung by the Hob, the black market that operates in an abandoned warehouse that once held coal. When they came up with a more efficient system that transported the coal directly from the mines to the trains, the Hob gradually took over the space. Most businesses are closed by this time on reaping day, but the black market's still fairly busy. We easily trade 6 of the fish for good bread, the other 2 for salt. Greasy Sa, the bony old woman who sells bowls of hot soup from a large kettle, takes half the greens off our hands in exchange for a couple of chunks of paraffin. We might be a tad better elsewhere, but we make an effort to keep on good terms with Greasy Sal. She's the only one who can consistently be counted on to buy wild dog. We don't hunt them on purpose, but if you're attacked and you take out a dog or two, well, meat is meat. Once it's in the soup, I'll call it beef, Greasy Sauce says with a wink. No one in the seam would turn up their nose at a good leg of wild dog, but the peacekeepers who come to the hub can afford to be a little choosier. When we finish our business at the market, we go to the back door of the mayor's house to sell half the strawberries, knowing he has a particular fondness for them and can afford our price. The mayor's daughter, Madge, opens the door. She's in my year at school. Being the mayor's daughter, you'd expect her to be a snob, but she's alright. She just keeps to herself, like me. Since neither of us really has a group of friends, we seem to end up together a lot at school, eating lunch, sitting next to each other at assemblies, partnering for sports activities. We rarely talk, which suits us both just fine. Today, her drab school outfit had been replaced by an expensive white dress, and her blonde hair is done up with a pink ribbon. Reaping clothes. Pretty dress, says Gail. Marge shoots him a look, trying to see if it's a genuine compliment or if he's just being ironic. It is a pretty dress, but she would never be wearing it ordinarily. She presses her lips together and then smiles. Well, if I end up going to the Capitol, I want to look nice, don't I? And now it's Gil's turn to be confused. Does she mean it? Or is she messing with him? I'm guessing the second. You won't be going to the Capitol, says Gil coolly. His eyes land on a small circular pin that adorns her dress, real gold, beautifully crafted. It could keep a family in bread for months. What can you have? 5 entries? I had 6 when I was just 12 years old. That's not her fault, I say. No, it's not one's fault, just the way it is, says Gail. Maggie's face has become closed off. She puts the money for the berries in her hand. Good luck, Katniss. You too, I say, and the door closes. We walk towards the seam in silence. I don't like that Gail took a dig at Madge, but he's right, of course. The reaping system is unfair, with the poor getting the most of it. You become eligible for the reaping the day you turn 12. That year, your name is entered once, at 13, twice, and so on until you reach the age of 18, the final year of eligibility. When your name goes into the pool 7 times, that's true for every citizen in all 12 districts in an entire country of Panin. But here's the catch. Say you are poor and starving as we are. You can opt to add your name more times in exchange for tesserae. Each tesserae is worth a meager year's supply of grain and oil for one person. You may do this for each of your family members as well. So at the age of 12, I had my name entered 4 times. Once because I had to, and 3 times for tesserae for grain and oil for myself, Prim, and my mother. In fact, every year I have needed to do this, and the entries are cumulative. So now, at the age of 16, my name will be in the reaping 20 times. Gail, who is 18 and has been either helping or single-handedly feeding a family of 5 for 7 years, will have his name in 42 times. You can see why someone like Madge, who has never been at risk of needing a tessera, can set him off. The chance of her name being drawn is very slim compared to those of us who live in the seam. Not impossible, but slim. And even though the rules were set up by the Capitol, not the districts, certainly not Maggie's family, it's hard not to resent those who don't have to sign up. Gil knows his anger at Madge is misdirected. On other days, deep in the woods, I've listened to him rant about how the tesserae are just another tool to cause misery in our district, a way to plant hatred towards the starving workers of the seam and those who can generally count on supper and thereby ensure we will never trust one another. It's to the Capitol's advantage to have us divided among ourselves. He might say if he were there, if you were there, no ears to hear but mine. If it wasn't reaping day, if a girl with a gold pin and no tesserae had not made what I'm sure she thought was a harmless comment. As we walk, I glance over at Gale's face, still smoldering underneath his stony expression. His rage seems pointless to me, although I never say it. It's not that I don't agree with him, I do, but what is good yelling about the Capitol in the middle of the woods? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make things fair. It doesn't fill our stomachs. In fact, it scares off the nearby game. I let him yell, though. Better he does it in the woods than in the district. Gil and I divide our spoils, leaving 2 fish, a couple of loaves of good bread, greens, a quarter of strawberries, salt, paraffin, and a bit of money for each. See you in the quarter, I say. Or see you in the square, I say. Wear something pretty, he says flatly. At home, I find my mother and sister are ready to go. My mother wears a fine dress from her apothecary days. Prim is in my first reaping outfit, a skirt and ruffled blouse. It's a bit big on her, but my mother has made it stay with pins. Even so, she's having trouble keeping the blouse tucked in at the back. A tub of warm water waits for me. I scrub off the dirt and sweat from the woods, and even wash my hair. To my surprise, my mother has laid out one of her own lovely dresses for me, a soft blue thing with matching shoes. Are you sure? I ask, trying to get past rejecting offers of help from her. For a while I was so angry I wouldn't allow her to do anything for me, and this is something special. Her clothes from her past are very precious to her. Of course. Let's put your hair up, too. I let her towel dry it and braid it up on my head. I can hardly recognize myself in the cracked mirror that leans against the wall. You look beautiful, says Prim in a hushed voice, and nothing like myself, I say. I hug her because I know these next few hours will be terrible for her. Her first reaping. She's about as safe as you can get since she's only entered once. I wouldn't let her take out any tesserae, but she's worried about me, that the unthinkable might happen. I protect Prim in every way I can, but I'm powerless against the reaping. The anguish I always feel when she's in pain wells up in my chest and threatens to register on my face. I notice her blouse has pulled out of her skirt in the back again and force myself to stay calm. Tuck your tail in, little duck, I say, smoothing the blouse back out in front. Prim wiggles and gives me a smile. Quack. Quack yourself, I say with a light laugh, the kind only Prim can draw out of me. Come on, let's eat, I say, and plant a quick kiss on the top of her head. The fish and greens are already cooking in a stew, but that will be for supper. We decided to save the strawberries and bakery bread for this evening's meal. To make it special, we say, instead, we drink milk from Prim's goat, Lady, and eat the rough bread made from the tesserae grain, although no one has much appetite anyway. At 1, we head to the square. Attendance is mandatory unless you are on death's door. This evening, officials will come around and check to see if this is the case. If not, you'll be imprisoned. It's too bad, really, that they hold the reaping in the square, one of the few places in District 12 that can be pleasant. The square is surrounded by shops, and on public market days, especially if there's good weather, it has a holiday feel to it. But today, despite the bright banners hanging on the buildings, there's an air of grimness. The camera crews, perched like buzzards on rooftops, only add to the effect. People file in silently and sign in. The reaping is a good opportunity for the Capitol to keep tabs on the population as well. 12 through 18-year-olds are herded into roped areas marked off by age, the oldest in the front, the youngest, like Prim, towards the back. Family members line up around the perimeter, holding tightly to one another's hands. But there are others, too, who have no one they love at stake, or who no longer care, who slip among the crowd taking bets on the 2 kids whose names will be drawn. Odds are given on their ages, whether they're seam or merchant. If they will break down and weep, most refuge dealing with the racketeers, but carefully, these same people tend to be informers, and who hasn't broken the law? I could be shot on a daily basis for hunting, but the appetites of those in charge protect me. Not everyone can claim the same. Anyway, Gail and I agree that if we have to choose between dying of hunger or a bullet in the head, the bullet would be much quicker. The space gets tighter, more claustrophobic as people arrive. The square is quite large, but not enough to hold District 12's population of 8,000. Latecomers are directed to the adjacent streets, where they can watch the event on screens as it's televised live by the state. I find myself standing in a club of 16s from the scene. We all exchange terse nods, then focus our attention on the temporary stage that is set up before the Justice Building. It holds 3 chairs, a podium, and 2 large glass balls, one for the boys and one for the girls. I stare at the paper slips in the girls' ball. 20 of them have Katniss Everdeen written on them in careful handwriting. 2 of the 3 chairs fill with Marge's father, Mayor Undersea, who's a tall, bald man, and Effie Trinket, District 12's escort, fresh from the Capitol with her scary white grin, pinkish hair, and spring green suit. They murmur to each other and then look with concern at the empty seat. Just as the town clock strikes 2, the mayor steps up to the podium and begins to read. It's the same story every year. He tells the story of Panem, the country that rose up out of the ashes of a place that was once called North America. He lists the disasters, the droughts, the storms, the fires, the encroaching seas that swallowed up so much of the land, the brutal war for what little substance remained. The result was Panem, a shining capital ringed with 13 districts, which brought peace and prosperity to its citizens. Then came the dark days, the uprising of the districts against the capital. 12 were defeated, the 13th obliterated. The Treaty of Treason gave us the new laws to guarantee peace, and as our yearly reminder that the dark days must never be repeated, it gave us the Hunger Games. The rules of the Hunger Games are simple. In punishment for the uprising, each of the 12 districts must provide 1 girl and 1 boy, called tributes, to participate. The 24 tributes will be imprisoned in a vast outdoor arena that could hold anything from a burning desert to a frozen wasteland. Over a period of several weeks, the competitors must fight to the death. The last tribute standing wins. Taking the kids from our district, forcing them to kill one another while we watch. This is the Capitol's way of reminding us how totally we are at their mercy. How little chance we would stand of surviving another rebellion. Whatever words they use, the real message is clear. Look how we take your children and sacrifice them, and there's nothing you can do. If you lift a finger, we will destroy every last one of you, just as we did District 13. To make it humiliating as well as torturous, the Capitol requires us to treat the Hunger Games as a festivity, a sporting event pitting every district against the others. The last tribute alive receives a life of ease back home, and their district will be showered with prizes, largely consisting of food. All year, the Capitol will show the winning district gifts of grain and oil, and even delicacies like sugar, while the rest of us battle starvation. It is both a time for repentance and a time for thanks. Then he reads the list of past District 12 victors. In 74 years, we had exactly 2. Only 1 is alive. Hamish Abernathy, a punchy old middle-aged man who at this moment appears hollering something unintelligible, staggers onto the stage, and falls into the 3rd chair. He's drunk. Very. The crowd responds with its token applause, but he's confused and tries to give Effie Dragon a big hug, which she barely manages to fend off. The mayor looks distressed. Since all of this is being televised right now, District 12 is the laughing stock, and he knows it. He quickly tries to pull the attention back to the reaping by introducing Trinket. Bright and bubbly as ever, Trinket trots to the podium and gives her signature, "Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor." Her pink hair must be a wig because her curls have shifted slightly off-center since her encounter with Hamish. She goes on a bit about what an honor it is to be here, although everyone knows she's just aching to get bumped up to a better district where they have proper victors, not drunks who molest you in front of an entire nation. Through the crowd, I spot Gale looking back at me with a ghost of a smile. As reapings go, this one at least has a slight entertainment factor, but suddenly I am thinking of Gale and his 42 names in that big glass ball and how the odds are not in his favor. Not compared to a lot of the boys, and maybe he's thinking the same thing about me because his face darkens and he turns away. But there are still thousands of slips. I wish I could whisper to him. It's time for the drawing, Trinket says as she always does. Ladies first, and crosses to the glass ball with the girls' names. She reaches in, digs her hand deep into the ball, and pulls out a slip of paper. The crowd draws in a collective breath, and then you can hear a pin drop. I'm feeling nauseous and so desperately hoping that it's not me, that it's not me, that it's not me. Trinket crosses back to the podium, smooths the slip of paper, and reads out the name in a clear voice. And it's not mine. It's Primrose Everdeen. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop there. That was Chapter 1 of The Hunger Games. So if you've liked that, I will be making another episode, Chapter 2. So again, my name is Mr. Roeder, as my students like to call me, Mr. Sam. This book was being read to you with permission of Scholastic. That was The Hunger Games, and that was Chapter 1. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be reading Chapter 2 here soon. All right, bye-bye. So yeah, if you're still out there watching, thanks for joining. I am definitely going to take a break after that because that was a good solid 30 plus minutes of reading. So, alright. So I'm actually probably going to shut down the stream for now. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, try and do this on the regular. So again, hope you enjoyed that. Mr. Sam, Mr. Roeder. You can follow me on Mixer and Twitch with the same name, Mr._Roeder. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube. On YouTube, you can find me, same thing, youtube.com/users/Mr._Roeder. And you'll be able to find my YouTube channel that way too. So, alright, well, I'm heading on out for now. I'll probably be back